What if I told you there was a show that was equal parts Marvel and origin stories like the X-Men with something like The Boys in terms of its violence and attention to detail and realism? Well, what you're looking at are clips from the trailer for a new Korean show that launched just a couple months ago in August called Moving. And it's on Hulu, it's on Disney Plus, and it's basically exactly what I described. I've only seen 8 episodes. There are 20 episodes out right now, so I cannot fully comment on everything the story holds. And it's certainly not the perfect story by any means. I'll give you my criticisms of it later on in the video. But I gotta say, this one is a surprise banger for me. A lot of people have talked about this. Jabhak Dashik, big Korean MFF YouTuber, hit me up and he put me onto this show, and I'm really happy. The show has delivered, and the more I watch it, the more I feel like this is sort of the heart and the storytelling that a lot of Marvel shows have lost recently. And it also, like I said, combines a much more realistic, gory approach like that of The Boys, or more recently Gen V, which is sort of like a spin-off of The Boys that came out. So I wanted to put you on and tell you guys about this show and see, you know, maybe if you want to watch it. This is completely just my opinion. This is not like a sponsored thing or an ad or anything like that. Now, it is in Korean and there are subtitles, so you do have to read subtitles. I'm not going to get into all that. I assume all you guys are smart enough to know how to do that. I know some people don't like subtitles, but, you know, it is what it is. But it's a really good show. I don't know if there's a dub out there for people who can't watch subtitles for whatever reason, and I can't comment on the quality of the dub, but I can comment on the quality of the subs, and they're pretty good. Now, the show right now, so it's only been out for 2 months. It came out on August 9th, has a very good rating right now. So even if you don't think my opinion means anything, take the opinion of other people. 8.6 with 5K ratings on IMDb for whatever that's worth. It also has a 98% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, there's no like critic score, but there are over 100 ratings on Rotten Tomatoes for this, and it's a 98 aggregate, which I think is quite nice. Now, it's one season right now. It just came out 2 months ago. Like I mentioned, there's 20 episodes, and apparently, if you Google this show, this is one of the posters for the show that I want to show you guys because the poster looks really cool. We can be heroes or we can be monsters. The budget for the show was apparently 60 million won. You can see here budget 50 to 65, sorry, 65 billion won, not million won. So that's like 50 to 60 million dollars. You basically just chop off 3 zeros and you have the American price, or sort of like the whatever the going conversion rate is for your you know, your world currency. And it's not a world currency, but you know what I mean. So yeah, it's a big budget show. And it has really good ratings, and I think it's really good. Check this out. Hollywood Reporter posted this at the end of August. The show Moving, becomes Disney's most watched Korean drama ever in just 7 days. Now, to put that into context, I'm sure Disney doesn't have that many Korean dramas. Netflix was earlier to that train with things like Squid Games and some of the Itaewon Club, I think it was, or Itaewon Story and all this stuff. But this is a big deal. This is a big deal for Disney because they want to capture a more international audience with their subscriptions, because there's more fans out there who would subscribe if the content that they want are there. And although I'm not up to date with Korean shows, you can ask anyone who's Korean if you know, a lot of the people in these posters are super duper famous. Like, I'm not just talking sort of famous or unknown. I'm talking like this guy's super duper famous. She's super duper famous. We got a lot of big bangers here as far as the Korean market goes. So this is good for them, and it's also good because it's getting a lot of international recognition. And then, like I said, it's a really good show. It's just genuinely a solid show. And to give you guys one more perspective, one of the actors, okay, this is one of the actors in the show. You see he's like pretty slim, pretty jacked. This guy turns into this guy. And there's basically this photo I found of his transformation. He gained 30 kilograms, which for you Americanos there is over 60 pounds. He gained over 60 pounds just to play the role of this more dumpy, kind of lovable teddy bear character. I'm not going to spoil anything about what his character goes through, but it's pretty impressive that he was willing to put all that on the line for A, a show, and B, something completely unproven, right? Because we've seen Disney's track record We know how they like to, and to, you know, to be fair, Amazon Prime, Netflix, all these streaming services, they throw out big money or they throw out contracts for shows, and the first season comes out and everyone's really hyped, and then they cancel it, right? And Netflix is actually known to do this. For those of you guys wondering why it happens so frequently, Netflix is known to do this with shows where they basically back end the payment. So they offer them like a 3-year contract, and they say, okay, we're going to pay you $5 million the first season, $10 million the second season, and $20 million the third season. And then the writers and the crew are like, wow, this is amazing, right? You know, sure, I'll sign this contract. And then after 1 or 2 seasons, they cancel the show. And they don't have to end up paying out that third season. They can claim, you know, viewership numbers are dwindling, the audience is not there, whatever. So this is a pretty dirty practice. But yeah, to have this much dedication and this much budget so early on with these kinds of stars, essentially what I'm saying is I think the show is going to have a long life. And it's going to have legs. It's doing really well right now, and 20 episodes for a season is pretty nuts. And the fact that, you know, it's already getting such good reviews is a good sign. So I could see this thing going for 2, 3, 4 seasons. So that's the show. I have a lot of good things to say about it. It, in some ways, is like a teen drama in terms of like teenagers coming to terms with their powers. In other ways, it's like an adult sort of drama where adults are sort of coming to terms with their lives as superheroes, but it's also very much grounded in reality. So there's not a lot of like, you know, dimension hot. I mean, there's basically zero like multiverse shit or you know, cosmos kind of garbage. All of that sort of stuff that's really hard to relate to, that it seems like Marvel just can't get away from now, is nowhere to be found in this show. So there is a heavy dose of realism, and the sets feel really alive and feel like they're actually just running through neighborhoods in Korea. And they honestly, they probably are. But yeah, it's really good. The CGI is pretty nice. There are a couple of scenes where the CGI is a little bit spotty here and there, but I think it's still pretty solid for the fact that you're getting a TV show and what they try to do. There is quite a bit of violence. I will say that, at least in the first 6 episodes, there's quite a bit of violence. After that, it kind of tones down a little bit for at least the last 2 episodes that I've seen. But it definitely balances storytelling, character building, world building, and action, I think, pretty well. That being said, the show's not perfect. Certainly not perfect by any means. I think that the show does suffer from this K-drama tag a little bit. And if you guys don't know, K-drama is basically like, it's kind of like a romance sort of category. Even though they call everything that's not a comedy is going to be called a Korean drama, the sort of stereotype of a Korean drama is that there will be a love interest, and there will be maybe, you know, like a girl chasing a boy or a boy chasing a girl, or a love triangle between 2 girls and a boy or 2 boys and a girl, or whatever, right? That sort of like romance stuff, which not everyone's a fan of. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it either. People seem to be okay with it in this show, but at least for me, that's been my only criticism of the show, is there's a little bit too much time dedicated to the romance side of things between characters. I'm not going to spoil between who, but basically, yeah, that's how I feel. That's my one sort of negative about the show, is it focuses a little bit too much on the relationship between romantically linked characters. But besides that, I think the show is fantastic. I think the storytelling is really good. The world building is good, like I said. The powers feel balanced and feel appropriate, basically. And it all takes place in a world where they reference things like the CIA. They reference, you know, the North Korean president dying. They reference real moments in time. They're not existing in like a made-up world. They're really like in Korea, and they talk about the U.S. and they talk about China, and they talk about like other countries. So it all has a very real feel to it. And I also think, to their credit, Korean actors are often underrated for their delivery, and they do a really good job. Even the teenage actors, I feel like, I mean, I know they're adults, but they're playing teenagers. I think they do a really good job to carry their side of the story, because it sort of flip-flops between the teenager side of things and the adult side of things. And I think that it really lends a very relatable feel to, like, what if you woke up and you had powers? Not like crazy powers like Cyclops' eye beams, but like, what if you could fly? Or what if you were like really strong, right? So yeah, that's the show. Wanted to share it with you guys. Hit me up in the comments down below if you've seen it, or if you end up watching it and you enjoy it, or if you don't and why. I'm going to finish the show in the next few days because I've been watching like 3-4 episodes a day, so I'm on a tear with it. Thank you to Jetpack Dashik for putting me on this show. I'm really happy. And it certainly, yeah, like I said, feels like what Marvel should have been doing for the last couple of years that they've been missing the mark on. So if that excites you, if something related to The Boys or Gen V excites you, then do not miss Moving on Disney Plus and Hulu, I think, at least. It might be somewhere else. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.